The padlock clicked shut with a sound so soft, so final, that I almost didn't hear it over the pounding of my own heartbeat. Inside the storage room, my husband and my best friend had no idea they were trapped. No idea I was standing on the other side of that door with my phone in my hand, scrolling to her husband's number. No idea their entire lives were about to detonate in the next 10 minutes. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me tell you how I became the kind of woman who locks people in rooms and watches their world burn. My name is Victoria Chen, and 24 hours ago, I thought I had the perfect life. My husband, Marcus Webb, wasn't just wealthy. He was Forbes cover wealthy. Tech billionaire at 39, founder of Webb Industries, the man who revolutionized cloud computing and made himself $3 billion in the process. We lived in a compound in the hills, the kind of place that gets featured in architectural magazines with titles like Modern Luxury Redefined. 12,000 square feet, infinity pool, wine cellar, home theater, and a storage facility that was bigger than most people's actual homes. That's where I found them. In the storage room, between vintage furniture and boxes of Christmas decorations we'd never gotten around to unpacking. But I'm still getting ahead of myself. It was a Friday morning. I was supposed to be in New York for a charity board meeting, flying out at 6 in the morning, staying through the weekend. I packed my bag, set my alarm, had my car service scheduled. But at 4 in the morning, I got the call. The meeting was canceled. Some kind of emergency with the organization's founder, they'd reschedule, so sorry for the inconvenience. I could have gone back to sleep. I should have. Instead, I decided to surprise Marcus with breakfast. He'd been working so hard lately, late nights, early mornings, stress written all over his face. I thought I'd do something nice. Make his favorite omelet, brew the expensive coffee he liked, maybe we'd eat on the terrace and watch the sunrise together like we used to when we first got married. That was 8 years ago. 8 years of what I thought was a solid marriage. Sure, Marcus worked constantly. Sure, I saw him less than I wanted to. But that was the price of being married to someone that successful, right? That's what I told myself every time he missed dinner, every time he came home after I was already asleep, every time I ate alone in that massive dining room that could seat 20 people. I called Marcus from the car on my way home. He didn't answer. Not unusual. He often silenced his phone when he was deep in work. I tried again when I pulled into our driveway. Nothing. The house was quiet when I walked in. Our housekeeper didn't come until 8 on Fridays, so I was alone. Or I thought I was. I went to the kitchen and started pulling out ingredients. Eggs, cheese, mushrooms, spinach. I was dicing vegetables when I heard it. A laugh. Female. Coming from somewhere toward the back of the house. My first thought was that Marcus had the television on somewhere. But the laugh came again, and this time I recognized it. Sophia. Sophia Martinez, my best friend since college. The woman who'd been my maid of honor. The woman I had lunch with every Tuesday. The woman who'd cried on my shoulder 6 months ago when she thought her husband David was pulling away from her. What was Sophia doing in my house at 4:30 in the morning? I set down the knife. My hands were steady, but my heart was racing. I moved through the house quietly, following the sound of voices. They were coming from the back wing, the area where we kept storage, extra bedrooms for guests we never had, Marcus's home gym. The storage room door was open just a crack. Light spilled out into the hallway. I heard Marcus's voice now, low and intimate. Then Sophia's laugh again, breathy and warm. I pushed the door open wider. They were standing near the back wall, between a stack of boxes labeled holiday decor and an antique armoire we'd bought in France during our honeymoon. Marcus's shirt was unbuttoned. Sophia's dress was hiked up around her thighs. His hands were on her waist. Her hands were in his hair. They were kissing like people who'd done this before, comfortable and familiar and completely absorbed in each other. I watched for maybe 10 seconds before Marcus saw me. His eyes went wide. He stepped back from Sophia so fast he nearly tripped over a box. Victoria. His voice cracked on my name. This isn't, don't. I held up one hand. I didn't trust myself to speak yet. Sophia had turned around now, her face draining of color. She tried to smooth down her dress with shaking hands. Vicky, please, let me explain. How long? My voice came out calm, almost conversational. How long has this been going on? It's not what you think. Marcus tried. It looked like my husband had his tongue down my best friend's throat. What part am I misunderstanding? Neither of them answered. Sophia looked at the floor. Marcus ran his hands through his hair, the same hair Sophia's hands had been tangled in 30 seconds ago. I'm going to ask one more time. How long? 6 months, Sophia whispered. Maybe 7. I nodded slowly. 7 months. While I was planning your anniversary party, David, you were sleeping with my husband. While I was listening to you cry about feeling distant from your husband, you were the reason my husband was distant from me. Vicky, I never meant to hurt you. Sophia's eyes filled with tears. It just happened. Things like this don't just happen for 7 months. That takes planning. Coordination. Lies. So many lies. I looked at Marcus. He couldn't meet my eyes. This was the man I'd married 8 years ago, the man who'd promised to love me, honor me, cherish me. The man I'd supported through 18-hour workdays and failed product launches and the stress of building an empire. I'd given up my own career in finance to be his partner, to manage our home, to host dinners for investors and smile through boring conversations about venture capital and disruption. And this was what I got in return. You should go, I said to both of them. Let's talk about this, Marcus started. Let's all sit down and, no. Get out of my house. But we need to, now. My voice didn't rise, but something in my tone made them both move toward the door. That's when I noticed the padlock on the shelf next to me. Marcus had bought it months ago when he decided we should secure the storage room better. We kept expensive items in here, he'd said. Art, vintage furniture, things that could be stolen if someone broke in. He'd never installed it. Too busy, he'd said. Too many other priorities. I picked up the padlock. It was heavy in my hand, solid metal, cold. Marcus and Sophia were almost at the door, moving past me carefully like I might explode. I waited until they were just outside in the hallway. Actually, I said. They both turned. Stay right there. Before either of them could process what I was doing, I grabbed the door and pulled it shut. The external latch was right there, just like Marcus had showed me when he bought the lock. I slipped the padlock through and clicked it closed. That soft, final sound I mentioned earlier. Victoria? What are you doing? Marcus's voice was muffled through the door. Open this. I pulled out my phone. The storage room was well insulated, soundproofed actually, because Marcus had wanted to store audio equipment in here at some point. They could yell all they wanted. No one would hear them. I scrolled through my contacts until I found David Martinez. Sophia's husband, a good man, an architect who designed 3 of the buildings in our downtown district. He and Marcus played golf together. He'd been to our house for dinner dozens of times. He had no idea his wife was currently locked in my storage room with my husband. I hit call. He answered on the 3rd ring, his voice thick with sleep. Hello? David, it's Victoria Webb. I'm so sorry to wake you. Is everything okay? Not exactly. I need you to come over to our house right away. There's been an incident. An incident? Is Sophia okay? She texted me last night that she was staying at your place. Girls' night, she said. David, I need you to come over right now. I'm in my car. I'll be there in 15 minutes. I ended the call and stood outside the storage room door. Inside, I could hear Marcus and Sophia talking in urgent, panicked whispers. The sound made my stomach turn. I walked away from the door and went to the kitchen. I made coffee. My hands were steady as I measured grounds and poured water. I was operating on autopilot, my body doing familiar tasks while my brain tried to process what I'd just seen, what I'd just done. I'd locked my husband in a room with my best friend. I'd called her husband to come witness their affair. I'd essentially orchestrated the most humiliating confrontation possible. And I felt nothing. No anger yet, no sadness, just a cold, clear emptiness. Marcus started pounding on the door. I could hear it from the kitchen, a distant thumping. I ignored it. I poured myself coffee and sat at the kitchen island, the same island where I'd been planning to make him breakfast 20 minutes ago. My phone buzzed. Marcus calling. I declined. He called again. Declined. A text came through. Victoria, please open the door. This is insane. We can talk about this like adults. I set the phone face down on the counter. Another text. I'm serious. Let us out. This is kidnapping or something. Let us out now. I sipped my coffee. It was too hot, burned my tongue, but I barely felt it. The doorbell rang. I checked the security camera on my phone. David stood at the front door in sweatpants and a t-shirt, his hair messy, his face creased with worry. I opened the door. Victoria, what's going on? Where's Sophia? She's here. Come with me. I led him through the house. He followed, asking questions I didn't answer. When we reached the storage room, Marcus and Sophia had gone quiet. They must have heard footsteps. David, I said, stopping in front of the door. Before I open this, I need you to know something. Your wife told you she was staying with me last night. Girls' night. I wasn't home last night. I was supposed to be in New York all weekend. My trip got canceled, and I came home early this morning. David's face changed. Something knowing and terrible crept into his expression. Where's Sophia? She's in here. I held up the key to the padlock. With my husband. I unlocked the padlock and pulled it free. The door swung open. The storage room was dark now. I turned off the lights before locking them in, some petty impulse for control. I flipped the switch. Light flooded the room. Marcus and Sophia stood against the far wall, as far from the door as they could get. They looked guilty, caught, exactly like what they were. David stared at his wife. At her wrinkled dress, her smeared lipstick, her guilty expression. He looked at Marcus, at his unbuttoned shirt, his disheveled hair. He looked at me. You locked them in here? I did. Why? Because I wanted you to see this. I wanted you to know the truth at the same time I learned it. I wanted them to face both of us together so they couldn't spin different stories to each of us separately. David turned back to his wife. Sophia. His voice was flat, emotionless. Is this what I think it is? She opened her mouth, but nothing came out. How long? 7 months, I answered for her. Maybe longer. They've been meeting while you're at work, while I'm out. She told you she was with me. He probably told me he was at the office. David nodded slowly. He was processing, calculating, his architect's brain putting pieces together. The late nights. The new lingerie. The phone calls she took in the other room. I thought you were planning something for our anniversary. He laughed, but there was no humor in it. I actually thought you were planning a surprise party. I'm sorry, Sophia finally found her voice. David, I'm so sorry. I never wanted you to find out like this. How did you want me to find out? He asked. Or were you planning to just keep doing this forever? We were going to end it, Marcus said. This was the last time. We were going to stop. Liar. The word came out of my mouth before I could stop it. You're a liar, Marcus. You've been lying to me for 7 months, and you're still lying now. I pulled out my phone and opened my photos. I'd taken screenshots of something I'd found 2 weeks ago. I'd been looking for a recipe. I texted myself and accidentally opened Marcus's message thread instead. We have the same phone, same passcode, we'd never hidden anything from each other. Or so I thought. I'd seen a message from a contact labeled SM. I'd opened it without thinking. The messages went back months. Explicit photos, detailed plans for meetings, discussions about hotels they'd stayed at, fantasies they'd shared. I'd read them all. Every single one. And I'd screenshot everything before clearing my search history and pretending I'd never seen them. I held up my phone now, showing Marcus and Sophia the evidence. This was from 3 days ago. Marcus telling Sophia he couldn't wait to taste her again. This was from last week. Sophia sending photos I won't describe out loud. This was from 2 months ago. Marcus saying he wished he could leave me but the prenup would destroy him financially. That's what this was really about, wasn't it, Marcus? Not love. Not connection. You just wanted something exciting on the side while keeping access to my family's money. I came from wealth. Real wealth. Old money that Marcus's billions couldn't match because mine was generational, established, connected. When we got married, my father insisted on a prenup. If Marcus ever cheated, he'd get nothing. Not a dollar. He'd signed without argument. Told me it didn't matter because he'd never cheat, he loved me too much. Another lie. David was staring at his wife like he'd never seen her before. We have 2 kids. 2 kids, Sophia. They're 6 and 8 years old. What were you thinking? I wasn't thinking, Sophia said, tears streaming down her face now. I was lonely. You work all the time, and I felt invisible. So you slept with our friend's husband? That was your solution? David shook his head. I want a divorce. Pack your things and get out of my house today. Sophia's face crumpled. She looked at me like I might intervene, like I might help her. I looked away. Marcus stepped forward. Victoria, please. Let's talk privately. We can work through this. Work through this? I laughed, and the sound scared even me. You've been having an affair with my best friend for 7 months. You've been lying to my face every single day. You've been in my bed, touching me, while thinking about her. What exactly do you think we're going to work through? I still love you. That's not love. I don't even know what that is, but it's not love. I turned to David. I'm filing for divorce today. My lawyer's name is Catherine Pierce. She's the best in the state. I'll text you her information. If you want, I'm sure she can refer you to someone good. David nodded. Thank you. For calling me. For making sure I knew. Marcus tried again. Victoria, don't make decisions when you're emotional. This is emotional? I asked. I feel pretty calm actually. You're locking people in rooms. That's not calm. I prefer to think of it as efficient. I got both betrayals exposed at once. Saved time. I walked out of the storage room. Behind me, I could hear Sophia sobbing, David's voice low and angry, Marcus calling my name. I kept walking. I went to the master bedroom and started packing a bag. Not for me. For Marcus. I threw his clothes into a suitcase, not bothering to fold anything. Suits, shirts, shoes, toiletries. Everything went into bags. I'd have the rest shipped to him later. Or burned. I hadn't decided yet. Marcus appeared in the doorway. You can't kick me out. This is my house too. Check the deed. It's in my name. My father insisted on that too when we bought it. My money, my house. You're a guest who's overstayed his welcome. Marcus's face went red. You can't do this. Watch me. I zipped up the last suitcase and rolled it toward him. You can stay at a hotel. Or with Sophia, see if David minds. Actually, you probably can't stay with Sophia since David just kicked her out too. Maybe you two can find a nice place together. Isn't that romantic? I'm not leaving, Marcus said, but his voice lacked conviction. Yes, you are. Because if you're not gone in the next hour, I'm calling my lawyer and the police. I'll file a restraining order. I'll make your life so legally complicated you'll wish you'd just left quietly. And Marcus, I'm not bluffing. You know I'm not. He stared at me for a long moment, then picked up his suitcases. In the hallway, I could see David leaving with Sophia trailing behind him, still crying, trying to touch his arm, being shaken off. They made a pathetic picture. Marcus followed them out. At the door, he turned back. I'll call you when you've calmed down. Don't bother. All communication goes through my lawyer from now on. The door closed behind them. The house fell silent. I stood in that massive foyer, surrounded by expensive art and designer furniture and all the trappings of the life I thought I had. And I felt that cold emptiness begin to crack. The anger was coming now, hot and overwhelming. The sadness was right behind it. But I didn't let myself fall apart. Not yet. I had work to do. I called Catherine Pierce, the lawyer my father had recommended years ago when we drafted the prenup. She answered immediately. Victoria. What can I do for you? I caught my husband cheating. With my best friend. I have evidence. 7 months worth of text messages, photos, everything. I want to file for divorce immediately. Can you come to my office in an hour? I'll be there. Bring the evidence. Every screenshot, every message, everything you have. I'm going to destroy him. 1 hour later, I sat in Catherine's office in downtown with my phone connected to her computer, transferring months of messages and photos. Catherine was in her 50s, sharp-eyed, with a reputation for winning cases no one else could win. She scrolled through the evidence without expression. This is comprehensive. You've been sitting on this for 2 weeks? I wanted to be sure. I wanted to catch them in the act so there'd be no room for excuses. Smart. Most people confront immediately when they are emotional. You waited until you had everything you needed. She looked at me over her reading glasses. The prenup is ironclad. If he cheated, he gets nothing. Not a dollar of your family money, not a share of any assets purchased with your funds. The house, the cars, the art collection, all yours. What about his money? His business? That's his. You can't touch Webb Industries. That was built before the marriage with his own capital. But everything purchased during the marriage with commingled funds, that's fair game. And Victoria, he's going to fight. Billionaires don't like losing. Let him fight. I have evidence. I have a prenup. And I have something more important than that. What's that? I have nothing left to lose. Catherine smiled. Then we're going to win. She drafted the divorce petition while I sat there. Irreconcilable differences based on adultery. Immediate separation of assets. Full enforcement of prenuptial agreement. Request for reimbursement of any marital funds used to facilitate the affair, hotel rooms, gifts, etc. When she finished, she slid the papers across the desk. Read this and sign if you agree. I read every word. Then I signed. Good. Catherine gathered the papers. Marcus will be served within 24 hours. I'm also filing for a temporary restraining order to keep him away from your property. You'll have legal grounds to change the locks and remove his belongings. Do it. I left Catherine's office feeling lighter than I had in hours. The anger was still there, burning hot beneath my ribs, but it had purpose now. Direction. I wasn't just angry. I was weaponized. My phone had been buzzing constantly. Marcus calling and texting, his messages growing more desperate. Victoria, please call me back. We need to talk about this. Victoria, you're being irrational. Talk to me. Victoria, I'm sorry. I never meant to hurt you. I love you. Please don't throw away 8 years over one mistake. I blocked his number. Then I called a locksmith. I need every lock in my house changed today. Can you do that? For the right price, I can have a crew there in 2 hours. Money talks. 3 hours later, my house had new locks, new security codes, new everything. Marcus's key wouldn't work anymore. His fingerprint wouldn't open the gate. He was locked out of the life we'd built together, and I felt a savage satisfaction in that. Next, I called my father. Daddy, I need to tell you something. What's wrong, sweetheart? You sound strange. Marcus cheated on me. With Sophia Martinez. I caught them this morning. I've filed for divorce. Silence. Then, that son of a bitch. The prenup holds, Catherine confirms it. He gets nothing. Good. Your mother and I never trusted him. Too smooth, too ambitious. We thought he married you for the connections. I didn't want to hear this. Not right now. Can we not do the I told you so right now? You're right. I'm sorry. What do you need? Nothing. I just wanted you to know. I'm handling it. You're sure? I can have my lawyers. I have Catherine Pierce. She's handling it. But thank you. My father was quiet for a moment. You know what this means, don't you? The prenup, the affair, the public nature of it once word gets out. Marcus's reputation is finished. He'll be poison in certain circles. Our circles. Good. Let him see what it's like to lose everything. That's my girl. My parents' money came from shipping, from real estate, from investments made by my great-grandfather that had compounded over a century. We weren't just wealthy. We were connected. Country clubs, charity boards, social circles that Marcus had spent 8 years trying to infiltrate. All of that was about to slam shut in his face. I spent the rest of that day systematically dismantling our shared life. I called our joint credit card companies and had his name removed from my accounts. I called the country club and had his membership revoked. Mine was through my family. His was through marriage. No marriage, no membership. I called every charity board we'd sat on together and resigned from the ones he'd gotten me involved with. I kept my seats on my family's foundation boards. By evening, I was exhausted. I sat in my living room with a glass of wine, watching the sun set over the hills through my floor-to-ceiling windows. The house felt bigger without Marcus in it, emptier, but also cleaner somehow. Like I'd removed a stain I'd been living with for 7 months without knowing it was there. My phone rang. Unknown number. Against my better judgment, I answered. Hello. Victoria, it's Sophia. I blocked your number. I'm calling from David's phone. He doesn't know. What do you want? To apologize. To explain. There's nothing to explain. You slept with my husband for 7 months. That's pretty self-explanatory. I never meant for this to happen. You said that already. It's still a lie. Let me ask you something, Sophia. When did it start? What was the first time? She was quiet. Then, do you remember that weekend in Napa? For Marcus's birthday? We all went, the 4 of us. I remembered. 8 months ago. We'd rented a villa, toured wineries, had long dinners under the stars. It had been perfect. Or so I thought. That last night, Sophia said, after you and David went to bed. Marcus and I stayed up talking. We were both drunk. He told me he felt lonely in his marriage. I told him I felt the same way. One thing led to another. You had sex with my husband in the house I was sleeping in? We didn't mean to, just happened. That phrase again. Things don't just happen, Sophia. You made a choice. You made hundreds of choices after that. Every time you texted him. Every time you met him. Every time you lied to David and to me. Those were choices. I know. I know, and I'm sorry. Are you sorry you did it? Or sorry you got caught? She didn't answer. That's what I thought. Sophia, you and I were friends for 15 years. 15 years. You were my maid of honor. I threw you a baby shower. I held your hand when your mother died. And you repaid that by sleeping with my husband. I don't think I'm the one who needs to hear your apology. I think you need to say it to yourself and figure out what kind of person you've become. I hung up. Blocked David's number too, just in case she tried again. I didn't want her apologies. They meant nothing. You can't unbetray someone. You can't take back 7 months of lies. All you can do is move forward and make sure it never happens again. The next morning, Marcus was served with divorce papers at his office. I know because Catherine called me immediately after. He's furious. His lawyer called me screaming about the restraining order, about the locks being changed, about you freezing him out of your social circles. Good. Let him be furious. He called me 17 times yesterday. I'd recommend you keep blocking him. Any contact outside legal channels could complicate things. I have no interest in talking to him. Perfect. Keep it that way. The story broke 2 days later. I don't know how. Maybe someone from Catherine's office, maybe someone from Marcus's, maybe just the natural gossip network that exists in wealthy circles. But suddenly, everyone knew. Tech billionaire Marcus Webb's marriage ends over affair with wife's best friend. The headlines were everywhere. Social media erupted. Billionaires are trending with takes ranging from eat the rich to actually this is just sad regardless of money. Marcus tried to control the narrative. He released a statement through his PR team. My marriage to Victoria Webb has ended. I take full responsibility for my actions. I deeply regret the pain I've caused. I asked for privacy during this difficult time. But the damage was done. 3 of his board members resigned. 2 major investors pulled funding from Webb Industries' new venture. The tech community, already suspicious of billionaires after various scandals, turned on him viciously. I released my own statement, shorter and more pointed. I will not be commenting on my ex-husband's infidelity. I'm focused on my work with the Chen Foundation and moving forward with my life. I asked for privacy and thank everyone for their support. The Chen Foundation was my family's charitable organization, focused on education and the arts. I'd been on the board for years but had stepped back during my marriage to support Marcus's work. Now I threw myself back into it with everything I had. I didn't need Marcus's money or his connections. I had my own. 1 week after the divorce filing, I attended a Chen Foundation gala. It was my first public appearance since the story broke. I wore a red dress, Valentino, floor-length, elegant, powerful. I walked in alone, head high, and the room went quiet. Then my mother appeared at my side, my father right behind her. The message was clear. The Chen family stands together. We moved through the room as a unit. People approached carefully, offering support, pointedly not mentioning Marcus. A few brave souls asked how I was doing. I'm excellent, I told them. Focusing on work that matters. Better than ever, actually. And the terrifying thing was, I meant it. I felt lighter without Marcus. Freer. Like I'd been carrying weight I didn't know was there until it was gone. Across the room, I saw David Martinez. He was with his kids, both dressed up for the formal event. His daughter saw me and waved. I waved back. David made his way over. Victoria. David. How are you holding up? Honestly? Better than I expected. Same. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. I filed for divorce too. Full custody. Sophia is fighting it, but her lawyer isn't optimistic. Not after I showed them the evidence. Evidence? You weren't the only one taking screenshots. I found their messages on her phone. Photos, plans, discussions about leaving us both. That was never happening, I said. Marcus loved my money too much to leave. And Sophia loved the stability you provided. They just wanted excitement on the side. David nodded. My lawyer said something similar. Called it having their cake and eating it too. Well, now they have neither. We stood in companionable silence for a moment, two people who'd been betrayed by the same affair, who'd lost their spouses to each other. It created a strange bond. If you ever need to talk, David said. To someone who understands. I'd like that. We exchanged numbers. No romance, no expectation, just two survivors of the same shipwreck offering each other a life raft. 3 weeks after I caught Marcus and Sophia, the mediation began. Marcus wanted to settle quickly, quietly, avoid more public embarrassment. I was fine with that, as long as the settlement favored me. We met in Catherine's conference room. Marcus brought his lawyer, a stern man named Thompson who looked like he'd eaten glass for breakfast. Marcus looked terrible. He'd lost weight. His suit hung loose. He had dark circles under his eyes. Good. Let's make this simple, Thompson said. My client is willing to walk away from all marital assets in exchange for Mrs. Webb not pursuing reimbursement for affair-related expenses. Catherine laughed. No. No? Thompson repeated. No. My client has evidence of your client using marital funds from her family accounts, to rent hotel rooms and buy gifts for his mistress. We have receipts, we have credit card statements, we have everything. You'll reimburse every dollar, plus emotional damages, or we'll take this to court and make it even more public than it already is. Marcus leaned forward. Victoria, please. Can we talk about this privately? No, I said. Everything goes through our lawyers. That's what you wanted when you decided to cheat, right? Privacy? Well, you lost that privilege. Thompson tried again. Mr. Webb is willing to offer $2 million as a settlement. That's beyond generous given that the prenup already protects Mrs. Webb's assets. Catherine slid a document across the table. Our counteroffer. $5 million in damages. Full reimbursement of all marital funds used during the affair. Our forensic accountant estimates approximately $300,000. And a public apology acknowledging the affair and taking full responsibility. A public apology? Thompson looked horrified. That will destroy what's left of my client's reputation. That's the point. Marcus stood up. This is vindictive. This is consequences. I met his eyes for the first time since we'd entered the room. You made choices, Marcus. You chose to cheat. You chose to lie. You chose to humiliate me. Now you get to face what those choices cost. This isn't about money, is it? He asked. No. It's about making sure you understand that actions have consequences. That you can't buy your way out of everything. That for once in your privileged life, you have to actually pay for what you've done. Marcus sat back down. He looked at Thompson. What's the minimum she'll accept? Catherine answered. Everything I just outlined. $5 million, reimbursement, public apology. Non-negotiable. We'll need to discuss this, Thompson said. You have 24 hours, Catherine replied. After that, we file additional motions and this gets even messier. They left. Catherine turned to me, impressed. That was brutal. I'm just getting started. The public apology was the key. Marcus's entire brand was built on being a genius entrepreneur, a visionary, a man who controlled his image carefully. A public apology admitting to an affair would shatter that image permanently. He'd never recover socially. His business might survive, but his reputation wouldn't. 22 hours later, Thompson called. We accept the terms. All of them? All of them. Catherine smiled at me. You won. We won. The settlement was finalized 1 week later. Marcus transferred $5 million to my account. His forensic team calculated the affair expenses at $347,000. That was transferred too. And then came the public apology. Marcus posted it on his social media, on Webb Industries' website, and a press release that went to every major outlet. I want to publicly apologize to my ex-wife, Victoria Chen Webb, for my infidelity during our marriage. I engaged in an affair that lasted 7 months. I lied repeatedly. I betrayed her trust in the worst possible way. She deserved better than what I gave her. I take full responsibility for the end of our marriage. I am deeply sorry for the pain I've caused. Victoria is an incredible woman, and I will regret my actions for the rest of my life. The post went viral. Hundreds of thousands of shares, millions of views. The comments ranged from respect for owning his mistakes to absolute evisceration of his character. Tech journalists wrote think pieces about billionaire entitlement. Relationship experts used our story as a cautionary tale. Marcus's Wikipedia page was updated within hours. The affair was now part of his permanent record. I read the apology once and then never looked at it again. I didn't need Marcus's apology. I'd needed his accountability, and I'd gotten it. Everything else was just noise. Life moved on. I threw myself into work at the Chen Foundation. We launched a new scholarship program for underprivileged students interested in STEM fields. I personally oversaw the selection process, read every application, met with every finalist. It felt good to build something meaningful, something that would outlast any marriage or betrayal. David and I became actual friends. We got coffee every few weeks, compared notes on our divorces, both preceding, both ugly. His kids started calling me Auntie Victoria. They were sweet children who missed their mother but were adjusting to their new reality. Sophia had moved across the country, presumably to escape the scandal. I heard through mutual friends that she was working as a yoga instructor in Colorado, trying to reinvent herself. I didn't care enough to verify. Marcus's business survived, but barely. Webb Industries lost 30% of its value in 3 months. Several key employees left. Marcus was forced to step down as CEO, remaining only as chairman. The company brought in new leadership to repair the damage. I watched from a distance, not with satisfaction exactly, but with a sense of closure. He'd built his empire, and his own choices had nearly destroyed it. That felt appropriate. 6 months after I locked Marcus and Sophia in that storage room, I attended a tech conference in San Francisco. The Chen Foundation was sponsoring a panel on technology and education. I was there to represent our organization. During a break, a man approached me. Victoria Chen? We've never met formally, but I'm Daniel Park. I run Zenith Ventures. We funded Webb Industries' Series B round years ago. I know who you are. Daniel was in his 40s, Korean American, with an easy smile and intelligent eyes. I just want to say I think you handled your situation with remarkable grace. Grace? I locked my husband in a room and destroyed his reputation. He laughed. Okay, grace might be the wrong word. Strength, then. Clarity. You knew what you deserved and you didn't settle for less. Most people can't do that. Thank you. Can I buy you a coffee? Talk about the Foundation's work? Your scholarship program is impressive. I'd love to learn more. We got coffee. Talked for 2 hours. Daniel was thoughtful, asking smart questions about our programs, our goals, our challenges. He made me laugh, which I hadn't done genuinely in months. At the end, he said, I'd like to make a donation to the Chen Foundation. $500,000. To support the STEM scholarship program. That's incredibly generous. I believe in what you're building. And I'd like to take you to dinner sometime. If you're interested. No pressure. I looked at him. 6 months ago, I would have said no automatically. Too soon, too complicated, too risky. But I wasn't that person anymore. That person had been married to Marcus, had believed in fairness and loyalty and the idea that doing the right thing would be rewarded. I was someone different now. Someone harder, maybe, but also stronger. Someone who knew what she wanted and wasn't afraid to take it. I'd like that, I said. Daniel smiled. How's Friday? Friday works. We exchanged numbers. As I walked away, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Hope. Not for romance necessarily, though maybe that would come. Hope for the future. Hope that my life could be more than the wreckage Marcus had left behind. Hope that I could build something new, something better, something entirely my own. That evening, I stood in my house, the house that was finally, legally, completely mine. No Marcus, no reminders of him except the ones I chose to keep. I poured a glass of wine and walked out to the terrace. The city glittered below me, millions of lights representing millions of lives, each with their own stories of heartbreak and recovery and resilience. I thought about that morning 6 months ago. About finding Marcus and Sophia in the storage room. About making the split-second decision to lock them in and call David. It had felt impulsive at the time, maybe even crazy. But looking back, it was the sanest thing I'd ever done. I'd refused to let them control the narrative. I'd refused to be the fool who didn't know. I'd refused to make it easy for them. And in refusing all of that, I'd taken my power back. My phone buzzed. A text from David. The kids want to know if you're coming to Sophie's birthday party next weekend. They're not having a party without Auntie Victoria. I smiled and texted back. I wouldn't miss it. Another text, this one from Catherine. Final divorce decree came through. You're officially single. Congratulations on your freedom. Freedom. That's exactly what this was. Not the end of something, but the beginning. The beginning of a life where I made the choices, where I decided what I deserved, where I never again settled for someone who saw me as an accessory to their ambitions rather than a partner in building something real. I raised my wine glass to the city, to the future, to myself. To survival. To strength. To taking back what's yours. And then I went inside to plan my next move because I was done being anyone's victim. I was done being defined by what had been done to me. From now on, I was defining myself, and that definition looked nothing like the woman who'd been married to Marcus Webb. It looked like someone better, someone fiercer, someone who knew exactly what she was worth and wouldn't accept a penny less. The padlock clicking shut had been the softest sound. But it had been the beginning of the loudest transformation of my life. And I was just getting started. If this story resonated with you, hit that subscribe button because you deserve to hear more stories about people who refused to be victims and took their power back. Drop a comment below and tell me what you would have done in Victoria's situation. Would you have locked them in? Would you have handled it differently? I want to hear your thoughts. And don't forget to like this video if you believe that sometimes the best revenge is living well and making them pay for what they took. More stories of survival, strength, and savage justice coming your way. Don't miss them.